Hello, future bestsellers. Happy holidays. We are super, super excited to see you guys today. Um, how is your Thanksgiving, everybody? Michelle, what'd you guys do for Thanksgiving?
We are still in Burlington, Vermont. I think that's where we were last. I
Oh,
know we've been here for a while. It absolutely poured rain nonstop from like the entire day. So it wasn't that exciting of a day, but I did manage to cook a full, albeit scaled down turkey dinner in the van.
this is the thing. I have been dying to hear about this all week. Were you able to
I
accomplish
did
your
it.
mission?
I did it.
That
I
is,
didn't make a whole turkey. I got turkey cutlets, but I cooked them.
that's
And
good.
we had mashed potatoes and stuffing and green beans and rolls and all that good stuff.
Oh my God, that's
Very proud of
amazing.
myself.
That I know, that's awesome. So my mother will, like, when she has a smaller crowd, will just do now in her, she used to make the turkey no matter
Yeah.
what, but now when there's a smaller crowd, she'll just get the Costco chicken and
Yeah.
she like, this is a little turkey, a
Yeah.
little baby turkey. But we made the full turkey. We had like 6 people. I was telling Robert before we started, we had, which is small for us. Like in years past, we had 16, 18, 20, 25 people. And we have like a really big, like our formal living room is a very open space. So you can actually put a lot of tables in. I've held a small banquet in there. It's not very practical space, except at Christmas or Thanksgiving, where you want to get a lot of people into one room. But yeah, so I was telling Robert, we had 6 people total for Thanksgiving dinner, and we made 6 pies. But
Yes.
yeah, but the funny thing about it was that, like, my son was not here for Thanksgiving this year, which was like, ooh, terrible. But the plus side of that was that my daughter and I literally spent the entire Thanksgiving holiday watching like Hallmark
You
Christmas.
watched Hot Frosty.
We totally, that was our first pick. We watched Hot Frosty. Did you watch Hot Frosty?
No, not
Okay.
yet.
I can't, I'll have to figure, there was one that we absolutely love that we're going to rewatch when my mom gets here when Granny Janie gets here for Christmas.
Mm.
But yeah, we did watch Hot Frosty. That was our first pick. I give it like a solid 3.5 stars out of 5. It was okay. It wasn't terrible, but it was good. Um, yeah, wait. So here, hold on, you guys. Let's say hi to some of our friends. But yeah, hi, Kara. We are super glad to see you. Thank you very much. Hello, Alice. We are super glad to see you. Vixen's here. Hello. Lainey loves the pie per person
Yes,
ratio. Yeah.
it's
So
incredible.
it wasn't bad. I'm gonna find, there was another movie that we liked more. We basically spent like the first 3 days on Netflix because they had a spectacular array of Christmas rom-coms. And all that's all we did. Like, we just ate leftovers for days. We drank like little mimosas in the morning, and we just had a lovely time. The pie, though, I still have pie left.
Okay,
Not
what you have to tell us what kind of pie. You can't just say pie and leave
okay.
it.
So I was telling Robert earlier. So I made 2 pumpkin pies because our family recipe makes 2 because you need 2.
Mhm.
So we made 2 pumpkin pies, a pecan pie, and a
Mm.
blueberry pie. And
Ooh,
then Ka, who is the horror geek's dad's cousin, so I guess that would be his second cousin.
mhm.
She always makes a delicious apple pie,
Mm.
like a Pennsylvania Dutch kind of apple pie.
Yes,
Yeah, it's really good.
love it.
And then Mike's mom contributed a chocolate cream pie to the mix. So 6
Excellent.
pies. I
Wow.
still have pie, which is kind of shocking.
Mm.
And Mike is like trying, he's a big power lifter. So he was not on a cut this year for Thanksgiving, which is a shocker because he always is. But
Mm.
he was also trying to like behave himself.
Sure.
So he ate some pie, but it's mostly been on
It's
Elle and
it's your
I.
responsibility. It's your duty.
Right. We made them. So there you go. Avi says, hi, friends. Happy hot, frosty hump day. So, Robert, tell us about your Thanksgiving.
Well, it was quiet. It was just the two of us here, but we still cooked for a couple of days and we ate for a couple of days. We had a lot of leftovers too because we made a full Thanksgiving dinner with a turkey and all the trimmings. We had an apple pie and we had a sweet potato pie, but we also made sweet potato cornbread.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Oh,
doesn't that sound so good? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Elle made these little, so my daughter is a baker, has been since she was like 8 or 9. She's like really great in the kitchen, far surpassed me a long time ago. She made these little puff pastry, like they look like little tiny hand pies. They're like this big, and they had brie and apples and cranberry in them.
We did the same thing for like little appetizers, but tiny little puff pastry.
Yeah, just little.
Yeah.
They were, I literally had I had like a little cocktail hour with one of my good friends, Abby Fabiashi, last night, who's also an author. Otherwise, I wouldn't tell you her last name. But she had, but we had a little get together last night, and I finished off the last 2 of those.
They're really good.
They are. So Avi says, loving the Christmas lights on your channel background. Lisa, I see you. I know Avi. We're like, Avi and I are like twins, I think. Like we really are. We have so much in common. Alice, you're a power lifter too. I had no idea. That is awesome. If the horror geek shows up today, and I'm not sure what he's doing out there. He had his own premiere earlier. If he shows up today, you guys will have to talk shop. So he's doing pretty well. His lifts are looking pretty good. All right. So let's talk about some writing sprints we're going to do today. What are you guys all going to be working on? Let us know in the chat what you're planning on working on today. Robert, what are you working on?
I have some more client work. I actually had back-to-back projects to work on editing. So I'm on number 2 at this point, just sort of starting it this week. So that's what I'm going to be working on.
Good for you. How about you, Michelle? What are you working on?
Well, right before the live stream, I had just finished an outline for a ghostwriting thing. So I'm going to proofread that first and send it to the client. And then the rest of the live stream, I'm working on my van mystery series thing.
I love that you're doing a van mystery series.
It's been so fun.
I really love that idea. I feel like since you're in the van, you should be like, you should shoot some, you probably are already doing this. Like you should shoot some video if you have like, if there are elements as you're traveling where you're like, ooh, that'd be a really
Lisa,
good.
I have a digital journal, and every single night since we got in the van, I have uploaded all of my pictures and videos that I took that day and like wrote a journal entry just about, so I could keep it organized and go back and look.
I love that. I love that. That is awesome.
Yeah,
that is incredible. Love it, love it, love it. I'm going to be working on categories and keywords today. That'll be my first sprint. Hopefully I'll get that finished. But I'm going to do a little research, and then I'm going to be doing some writing after that. Working on a nonfiction project today. Alice says, working on the final, fingers crossed, edits of my middle grade. Awesome. Lainey's just turned a draft over to the editor, so I have a work for hire draft I need to crank out today. Good job. Not the whole draft. Right? I mean, Lainey's really fast. That fast? How fast? How fast does it? I'm kind of dying to know, Lainey. How long does it take you to write to write a novel? Like, what's your how long does it take? How long does it take you, Michelle?
To write a draft?
Yeah.
Oh God, it depends, but usually 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
Unless I mean, I've done it faster, but I don't like to.
No, I know. I'm usually like 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
4 is close. Yeah. Four
my estimate is based on obviously middle grade, which is shorter.
Right. That's true. Well, and I've tried to write shorter, but I think because I started in trad publishing, and for a rom-com, trad publishing, the word count is 75K. Like that's what they want you to hit.
Yeah, right.
And even when I want to write shorter, I hit 75K. That's like 75 to 80 is my sweet spot. All right. So Kara says, we always get cans of sweet potato from the food bank at Thanksgiving. I'm the only one who eats sweet potato, but I put a can in the leftover turkey chili, and my son likes it that way. Ooh, that sounds so good.
That does sound good.
Yeah.
If you have some left over, try that cornbread. There's recipes all over Instagram, and It's good.
I love that. I love that. Avi's doing client work today, preparing for my vacation in 2 weeks, spending Christmas in Canada. Ooh, snow! That sounds like a holiday rom-com. You're going to give up you know what though? Avi's never going to give up the island life. So your hunky lumberjack is going to just have to come back with you and learn to love the island life. Avi cannot give up the sun and the sand. So that's good. I think you are not so fast. You can do it in a day. Okay. So Lainey says, I spent a month plotting, a month writing, and a month revising. Look at you, girl. Yep. Love it. Love it. Love it. Avi says, hearing Michelle's van mysteries makes me think of Scooby. I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, I have 2 things. One, I spent 4 days on the couch. Wait, 4 days? Yeah, like 4 days on the couch with my daughter, who is obviously one of my favorite people in the universe, watching just back to back to back to back to back Christmas rom-coms. Yeah. I have not watched the news since the election. And I have
avoiding it too.
Right. And I've avoided all politics talk.
Yes.
And I am not only feeling very happy right now, but also very much in the holiday spirit. I've been going around. I don't know if you can see, like I put lights in my palm tree yesterday. I have some on my window that only I can see. So, well, that's not true. I guess people who like drive by can probably see it from over the lake. But anyway, yeah. So I'm ready. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and do our 5-minute warm-up sprint. Let me get that rolling. There we go. All right, we're going to make this all big. Okay, so we're going to start. If you guys are new here, we're going to start with a 5-minute warm-up sprint where you're going to get your documents out or whatever you need for your project that you're working on today, and your drink, and do your little finger exercises. I don't know, whatever you need to do. Pull a tarot card or do a rain dance, whatever it takes. So here we go. We're going to start with our 5-minute warm-up sprint starting in 3. All right, we are back. Let me just get rid of that little beach timer. There we go. So, okay, I'm excited that you can see the lights at the top when you see the
Yeah, I noticed that.
the timer. I know. Well, you're sort of going blind, like where will everything end up? So I love that turned out so great. So let us know, you guys, what you are working on in the chat. Let's see. Vixen says so this is funny because I had said like I'm avoiding the news, I'm avoiding talking politics, I'm just like, and I'm mainlining holiday rom-coms, and it seems to be working. So yes, Vixen, same page, baby. So, all right, very nice. Avi says the Island Lumberjack will be the Christmas in Canada sequel, like when you started. Oh, I love it. I'm here for that. I'm pre-ordering that book right now, baby. I love that. Fantastic. Hello. I feel like you've been here before. I know you've been here before, actually. It's Zan? Was that right? Tell me if
Yeah.
I mispronounced. Okay, that's what I thought. I just couldn't remember. Love that. Love that. Love that. Okay, so Kara says I tried doing the month plotting this year, ended up in analysis paralysis, abandoning the stories I tried it with, and proved to myself once and for all that I'm not a planner.
Not everybody is.
Not everybody is, and that's okay. That's okay. Some people just got to write their way out of it. So I feel you, but really don't like a lot of times people just beat themselves up because they feel like they should be able to plot. And like half the authors I know don't write that way, and they are equal. They have equal success to the authors who do plot. So for me, that's the way that I do it. For a lot of people, it doesn't work. So I get that. Doll's here today. So glad to see you. Doll. Very nice. Regina's here. Hello. So glad to see all of you guys. We're so happy to see you. Oh no, Regina's got a sick dog. Improving after today. Oh, well,
boo.
Sending good. Odie's got his Christmas collar on today. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see. Oh, wrong camera. Sorry. Little candy cane stripes. So I know, right? So cute. I really am like I'm all in on Christmas fever, and I'm pretty sure it was the movies. Maz, I was helping a friend clear their mother's flat, and I broken, so I'm just gonna read one of my drafts and chill. Very nice. Very nice. Good. Yep. Very nice. I get it. Regina got no work done yesterday. I have 7 chapters due on the Western romance short. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah.
Mystery solved.
I got you. All right. Fantastic. So Doll's going to not working on writing today, working on some chores while visiting the stream, writing at night. Very nice. Regina is making a coloring book.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I totally get that. But yeah, but that's still kind of a neat project. Very nice. Hi, guys. Hello, Renee. Just fed newborn and laid back down, got my leg book. Look at you. All right. Well, while you've got your 20 minutes to write before the baby wakes up, let's go ahead and get our next sprint in, shall we? Let's do that. We're going to do our first 20-minute sprint. There we go. Let's make this big. All right, everybody. Let us know if you haven't already what you're going to be working on today. And we're going to start off our very first 20-minute sprint in 3, 2, 1. Let's sprint. Sorry, it'd be helpful if I turn the microphone back on. Huh? So how'd everybody do on that last sprint?
Good.
Good. Going through my many notes. I have never gotten this many notes from a client. He sent me character sheets. He got information back from beta readers since he sent me this, and he's given me all of their suggestions. So I've got so much to go over.
Stack, like your research, the notes are more bigger than the manuscript. I get that. So I will confess that with all of the pie talk I went over, just grab myself a little slice of pecan pie.
Oh my God, pecan pie.
I know.
Okay, do you like lemon meringue?
I do not. I'm not
Okay.
a lemon person, although my mother makes a fantastic lemon meringue pie. But it's one of my no. But did you make a lemon meringue pie?
Well, no, I love lemon, but when I was little, my uncle for Thanksgiving, he always insisted on a lemon meringue and a pecan pie. Those were his two favorites. And then one year, my aunt created a pie with like the lemon filling, but then instead of meringue, you top it with the pecan pie crumbly stuff. And you would think it's weird, lemon and pecan, but it was amazing. It was so good.
You should get that recipe and recreate it in the van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem. She have like pecan dust everywhere from the.
Oh my God.
So I love that. I love that. It's kind of funny. So I love like the fun sort of family things that happen with the holidays. My Aunt Jerry, like I make the same pumpkin pie recipe that my mother makes, the one with two pies, which feels very much like my family. But my aunt has been making a recipe for several years that's one pie. And so there's this like back and forth every year. Like one year, my niece Lizzie and I like snuck upstairs, got into her cookbook and like put in the official pumpkin pie recipe and then just making jokes and all this stuff. And obviously her other recipe is still in there. And then she had sort of done something similar when she visited my house, like snuck her recipe into my recipe book. And so we have this like running joke back and forth every year about which is the official pumpkin pie, even though I have a recipe in my grandmother's handwriting and I think we know who won. All right. So we had a good question from Alice. She said she was thinking about adding a 5 years later. Should this be another chapter or an epilogue for my middle grade? I'm going to let you take that, Michelle, because you're our middle grade expert.
Let's see. This is kind of hard because I can't say that in middle grade you never get an epilogue like that, but I do think it's pretty rare, and generally I don't think editors are going to want to see your kid main character 5 years older. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I hadn't even thought about that. This is why we asked you.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. I'm not saying it can't be done. Just, I think of it this way. With a middle grade, I mean, with any novel, but especially with middle grade, when you end the novel, you don't necessarily need to wrap everything up in a nice little bow. You just need to know that the kid at the center of the story is looking at a hopeful future. But readers don't always want to see it concretely happen. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I know exactly what you mean, because that's how we end a romance, is a happily ever after or a happy for now. But you don't necessarily. Now, I will say in romance, the readers do like it when you take them 5 years into the future and we're expecting our first baby. And
if it's still a happy.
Yeah.
Then sure. And I'm not saying I don't. To answer the question just like that she asked specifically, it would be an epilogue, not a chapter. But you'd really have to justify that epilogue. I think.
Robert, what do you have to say on this matter?
I think all epilogues need to be justified. Is it really an epilogue? And another thought that came to me while Michelle was talking, is it possible that you leave this to the child's imagination, that if there's something important that absolutely has to be said, are they just imagining a potential future up to a point?
Oh, okay. That's a really interesting perspective. So one, I would say that there are one, I would listen to Michelle regarding reader and editor expectations for middle grade, because she has a lot more experience than all of the rest of our panel here today. I would also think it was an epilogue, but it would not have even occurred to me that the editors and or readers might not like a 5 years from now kind of epilogue. So there we go. Michelle Schusterman, middle grade expert, lemon and pecan pie lover, Dan aficionado. There you go. Yes. Yeah. Love that. Hello, Crochet by Ella. We are very, very happy. Oh, I love how when I put your name up over the presents, it looks like you have like an animated thing.
Yeah. Oh, she muted herself again.
But as she said, we get a view of the lights.
Lisa, the lights look really good. I'd rather have you back.
What? Why does StreamYard hate me? You know why? Because talk and push buttons at the same time. And I think we know this is not my strong suit. So Doll did some washing, and Maz is running down a hospital appointment and starting to make stew. Stew sounds good. Even though I'm in Florida, we are having a bit of a cold front, and I have a space heater going in my office today. I have a giant cashmere duster that basically goes it's big. So Lisa loved it so much she disappeared. Yeah, all right. Speaking of disappearing, wait, that's a terrible transition. Here's another writing sprint.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't know if I didn't save that one. I'm going to give that like a 3 out of 10. That was not my best transition, but we'll try again next time. That's the beautiful thing about a writer. You can always edit. Okay, here we go, everybody. We are going to do our next 20-minute sprint starting in 3, 2, 1. You've got this. All right. I was so invested in what I was doing that I did not. I had no recollection or no comprehension that the time was coming to an end. I just blasted by that. Doo. So very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so we had good questions. Alice says, I was thinking about adding it because one of the characters died, and I thought it would be nice to show as time goes by she wasn't forgotten. Would that make a difference with our epilogue? What do you think?
Let me think. I have to read it again. I guess that's I'm glad you brought the detail, like that detail there, that I understand why you want to have the epilogue, but like I would imagine that at the end of the last chapter in the present day, there is an ending you can write that will let the reader know that of course this character will never forget.
Like the characters get together to plant a tree in the deceased character's honor or something like that.
Or even have something that belonged to the character, like something they put on a shelf or press in a book, a photograph, something that shows they won't be forgotten.
Right.
Yeah. But I love that, Alice. I think that's really a nice way to, wrap that up and maybe give closure to the reader. I assume that this was a surprise, but maybe not. Maybe the character is sick for a long time and we know that. So, all right. I love it. Fantastic. Antoinette, are these live writing sprints every Wednesday? Pretty much every Wednesday. We do take off, like we took off for Thanksgiving, and we'll probably take off around Christmas. Actually, we will definitely take off around Christmas because I'm pretty sure Christmas is a Wednesday. I think I think the Horror Geek had recently said that. So Wednesday, Christmas Day, we will not for sure. If so, what time? 11 a.m. Eastern time. We go from 11 a.m. Eastern until 1 p.m. Eastern, so 2 hours. We do 20-minute sprints. We start with a 5-minute warm. You have so many good questions. We start with a 5-minute warm-up sprint so you can get your beverage or your pie of choice, open your document, all that stuff. And then we do 20-minute sprints all the way through with little chit-chat in between. Would I have to have cameras on? No, you don't. If you're hanging out in the chat with us, you don't have to have your camera on at all. Is it just you on camera? Yes, it's just us. And how much would you have to engage? Not at all. We have people who come in and never say a thing. They just like to chit chat. They like to, you don't have to ask any questions. They like to just hang out with us. So we're here for you every Wednesday. You're welcome to engage or ask a question if you like to, and you're welcome to just lurk in the background. Also, whatever makes you comfortable, we're cool with it. So
just hit that like button to let YouTube know that you care.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. But what you could do is hit the little subscribe bell. Yeah, exactly. And that way you will get notifications when we have one. But pretty much every Wednesday, we've been doing this for several years, so it's a little tricky around the holidays, but yeah, pretty much every Wednesday. Hello, greetings from an Arizona-based slang dictionary writer. That's the coolest job ever.
Nice.
I love that. Fantastic. Welcome, eCar eBooks. We are very glad to have you with us today. Ella is working on a novel called Dead Man's Grave. Don't know how to start the speech. I have extreme writer's block. We have all been there. Michelle's got to just direct that flight onto the runway, and then we'll be all every week she's got like a different exciting challenge, and every week she levels up and accomplishes it. So let's talk about how to get rid of writer's block, because every writer has been through it at one point or another. I, for like over a decade, was one of those obnoxious people that said, I don't believe in writer's block. If you make a living as a writer, you just have to suck it up and make it happen. And then I got the worst writer's block ever. Well, I'm sure somebody's had it worse, but it was bad. And it took me a long time to recover. And so I tried to keep my mouth closed on stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's hard, but there are things that you can do. One of the things that I like to do when I'm stuck on a specific spot, well, a couple things. The first one is I just go back to make sure that the plot is working. So if you're a plotter, and I can't remember if we talked about this earlier with you, um, if you're a plotter, I would go back and make sure that you don't have a hole somewhere, because a lot of times when you're stuck, it's because something farther back or farther forward doesn't make sense. And then the other thing is I will like act stuff out. It engages a different part of your brain. So I would stand up at your kitchen table or your breakfast bar or whatever, something podium-esque, and give that speech. Just verbalize it and see if that helps. Michelle,
Mhm.
what do you think? Thoughts? Sympathies?
Sympathies. Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you, Lisa. I used to be like that about writer's block, and if I'm being honest, and this is me judging myself more than anyone else, writer's block can often be just an excuse. You know what I mean? But sometimes
I do.
we
It
really
is. Sometimes for me, it is like,
sometimes I just don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of any job anyone has ever.
Sure. Even if
Um,
you love it and you're awesome at it, there are some days where you're just like, I just want to get back in bed and watch Hot Frosty.
Right. And on days like that, I tell myself, okay, how would I feel if I were going into surgery and my surgeon woke up that morning and was like, I just don't feel like cutting people open today and saving their lives. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want somebody coming into my surgery with that attitude. So that helps me to like try to get my mindset a little different. But
Mhm.
I
they
I
are.
will never be able to have surgery again without thinking about my surgeon. Being like, I'm gonna have to send him or her a muffin basket in the morning. Like, today's your day.
Yeah, you got this. I
You
hope.
got this. All right. So this is what we're gonna do. We are going to send Ella a muffin basket right here on the stream today. Here it goes.
Very nice.
We believe in you, Ella. We know that you can do this. It's hard. I do find sometimes when I'm stuck with one creative project, if changing the format, so like getting up and trying to give a speech or writing by hand in a notebook or something like that, if that doesn't help,
Device.
yeah. If that does, you said good advice and I just said, yeah, it's excellent
Yeah.
advice. It did come from me. But but if you like, changing up the kind of format can really really help. And then also for me, other things that have helped are like doing some other non-writing creative pursuit. I think the way that I got out of the worst writer's block I ever had was I made a chandelier.
Ooh,
I know, right? It's
that's
crazy.
cool.
I had at my house, I had this very plain sort of, I can't remember, like, or in my little dining nook, there was this very plain sort of chandelier, like, big box store chandelier that came with the house. And it was like a white color. And I had gone to my favorite little store in St. Armand's Circle, which is a very shishi shopping district in Sarasota on St. Armand's. And I found this chandelier that I loved, and it had like aqua crystals and little starfish hanging, and like it was just beautiful and exactly what you would expect from me. And it was like $1,800, and I was like, I cannot spend $1,800 on
Wow.
a chandelier. I cannot do it. So I didn't. What I did instead was take apart that ugly ass chandelier that was over my dining nook and add strands of blue crystals that I bought on eBay. And do you know you can buy these little tiny magnets so you can just connect one to another? You don't have to. Anyway, I did the whole thing. And when I was done, I had an extraordinary chandelier that I love to death. And I got compliments on every time someone came over.
That's awesome.
And writing writer's block passed because it was just like, okay, I still can be creative. I'm just going to do it in a different way. It depends on how tight your deadline is. If you're working on a tight deadline, sometimes you got to push through. But try verbalizing it. So either doing like dictation or literally stand up and give the speech without thinking about writing it down, unless you come up with a really good line on the fly. And then of course do write that down. But just see if you verbalize it and pretend to be the character, what comes out. Because sometimes just that change in orientation will help.
Yeah, and Dal has a good one as far as grief and depression and things like that. That really throws off being
Oh
creative.
God, yeah, of course.
It's the worst.
There's different things. Sometimes you just have to change your environment, change your mindset. It could be a different keyboard, go to the library, or even a different room in your house that you don't usually write in might switch things up. And for the person who was talking about planning and pantsing earlier, I would say what taught me best how to plan, while you're pantsing each scene, just write down a few lines of what the scene is. Write down what the main action of the scene is, where the scene ends. You'll be surprised by the time you get done how much you can look at that at a glance and see, okay, well, I did what happened in that scene over here, or I can condense that into another scene. And you'll be able to, by the end of it, get an idea of what a basic rough outline looks like without going crazy with all this chapter, analysis and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. Avi says we need a Horror Geek Wednesday. Yeah, we do. We should do that on we should do that near Halloween next year. Dal's got all your morning routine. Awesome. Love that. Cake for breakfast. Yes, absolutely. Vixen says we lurk all the time. Love your questions. We lurk all the time. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Renee's got a great question. Advice on where to start in planning, writing an interconnected and crossover series or universe. I start with a map. Like I would visualize, you know what I mean? Like I would try to visualize first how you see, like literally like on a roll of poster, of butcher paper or poster board. I would, or in Canva, like on a digital whiteboard or on a regular whiteboard, I would map out how all the various things are connected. That's what I would do.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, and it's good to look at it like it's one large story, which a lot of people do. But, envision your first arc, whether it's 3 books or 5 books, and how it's going to look in the bigger picture. And then make sure each individual book has its own core story problem and its own solution, its own self, it has to have a self-contained story, and still the bigger picture goes on. This is a big mistake that I see a lot of people making. They'll write that big story, then chop it up in 3 to 5 pieces. And then by the time the reader gets to book 2, it's picking up right where it left off. There's no reestablishing characters, no plot. You're lost. You're killing your series by doing that, because the reader that comes to the second one is going to be like, I can't understand what's happening. So your backlist is
and then they go, well, I didn't like the second book, so I'm not going to read the first one. Yeah. And it's an art form. Having worked with a lot of series authors, it is an art form in itself to be able to quickly give enough backstory and introduce your characters in the second, third, fourth, 87th book, where a new person picking up the book would be able to follow along, even if they hadn't read the rest of the series. But also you're not going to bore the pants off the people who have read all the series and re-explain to them.
And become intrigued with your character as well as the plot, like it would be your first book, because for some people it just might be.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely true. All right, Renee, I hope this helps. If you have other questions about this, or if you want us to dig in deeper on anything that we just talked about, let us know. Regina, thank you. We love you. Avi says, we encourage workers, perkers, lurkers, but no irkers. Love that. Love that. Teresa, we're so sorry. We're very glad that you made it. Have fun at the farm. Say hi to the cows for me. And I don't know if it's that kind of farm. I just love cows, though. My daughter loved cows, and I have this real affection for cows. I don't know why. Regina says, just a thought, start with Dearly Beloved. which is great because then you don't have to think of the first thing to say. You can just start talking. That's a really lovely kind of love that. Yep. I feel that, doll. Absolutely. Regina says that's why I took up pen and ink art again. I loved it as a younger person, but focused on writing for 50 years. Oh, I love it. Well, and look, you're going to merge these two things with your coloring book.
Yeah, I got a piece that I'm going to pen and ink once I get a couple of them done, but I'll show you my latest and greatest in a minute if you want.
Oh, we'd love to see that. Love to see that.
This one is a murder job, I'll tell you.
Daw says a revision checklist helps her move forward when she doesn't know what to write. That is very nice. All right, Robert, hold it up there. Hold on, I'm going to put you big. Wait, are you going to get me? Hold on. I
don't know if it's all in there.
That is incredible. Holy smokes. That's amazing. That is
so I don't know if people know who it is, but if you've seen like the Black Adam movie, that's Dr. Fate.
Love it. You're so talented. You are so talented. Ooh, I love this, Avi. And Michelle always has the best tips, doesn't she? Let your character tweet you or X you. I'll never say that. The let your character tweet you will help you find your story's beats. Love that. Very nice. Oh, cool. Fantastic. Ella finds the middle of the book to be the hardest. Yes. That is true. The middle of the book is often, this is why they call it the saggy middle or the soggy middle. It's like you've lost that new book momentum. You're not quite enough at the end, close enough to the end. And if you're a pantser, I think this can be particularly challenging because you just gotta grind and grind and grind. So yeah, I feel that. Very nice. Lainey says, Robert, you're so talented in so many ways.
Thank you. Well, that was my first going to art school and not only learning how to draw, but learning storytelling through sequential art. We learned script writing and we learned like a ton of stuff about graphic arts. It was like boot camp for the up and coming comic book creator.
I love it. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And you have such a great sense of story. So clearly it worked. My doll says, OMG, my fictional characters sometimes post on my social media. Love that. I love that. That's really fun. All right, everybody, let's go into our last sprint of the day. All right, here we go. I feel pretty good. I have not gotten any writing done because my category and keyword research is taking me longer, but I will at least be finished with this by the end of the sprint. So I'm very excited about that. All right, everybody, we're going to get started. Our last 20-minute sprint. We're going to make this one count. I know you can do it. Here we go. Starting in 3. All right, we are back once again. So, so funny. Okay, so how did everybody do on that last sprint of the day?
Very good.
Fantastic.
Very productive live stream.
It really was. I got a ton done. I was hoping that I would get a little farther along, but I found some truly delicious keywords for my project. So I'm very excited about that. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay. So Vixen says, I love that. Like based on our earlier conversation and Robert's drawings. Love that. I've been incorporating drawing and ink art to keep the creativity going. Oh, did we pass that one? We did it already. Mama Ward is here today. Hello. We are very glad to see you. Alice, you are so welcome. Thanks so much for stopping by. We're very glad that Mama Ward stopped by. Getting a new website built. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm like in the middle of a website redesign that I've been in the middle of for a while. And I just, anyway.
Yeah. Just a lot.
Yeah. Exactly. It is. It's just like one of those things. And even when you're having someone else do it, like just to get all the stuff together and think about how you want it to look or how you don't want it to look or how you want it to function. Yeah, it's super fun. So anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Avi says, got a lot of client work done, plus lots of snuggles with my 5-month-old niece. Win-win.
Definitely.
We have on the Horror Geek side of the family several babies. Obviously, we had baby Stir Fry, and then we have baby Wolverine, aka Logan, who was like, this little guy was a preemie, and he was like, he would fit in the palm of your hand. And I have very small hands. He was so tiny, he was like a hamster when he was born. But he is now about a little over a year old, and he is just like walking and, big smile, like every time you see him, snuggly, laughs all the time. The perfect baby that you want to visit with for, for a couple hours, because he just charms the pants off you. So Ella got half a chapter done. Woohoo! Yay! Very, very nice. I am super excited with my progress today. Renee says, advice on starting client work. Good question. Very good question. So let me just clarify. You're looking for advice on how to start doing client work, like if you've done it for yourself but not for others yet, or are you asking because you're like, oh God, I can't start this client project, which we've all been there at least once. I love that. There's something about like preemie babies that just makes you like, you want to give them a little extra love and attention. Okay, so question, let's just assume that if we don't hear back from Renee, there we go, the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, so how to start getting clients. Renee, are you wanting to do like editing or marketing or what other, book cover design? What are you looking to do? And do you guys want to talk about this? I mean, I guess one way that I know a number of people have had some success and other people have had some frustration is getting some work on Reedsy. However, if you're just starting out and you haven't done work as a freelancer before that, then it's going to be more challenging to do that. However, if you used to work for like a publisher, then it's going to be a lot easier to do that. Does that make sense?
There's other platforms like Fiverr and Upwork. Where they're not as I don't know if they'll allow it to just totally open and anybody can offer work. I think it might be the case. But people there tend to charge a lot lower rates because they're not as experienced and they're just starting out, and that's how they build up a platform. And then you could move yourself to a bigger platform like Reedsy. I don't even know if bigger is the right word, but like one that's a little more
targeted, more targeted.
Yeah, exactly.
So one thing I think that there are always authors, like it feels like it's going to be easier for you to sort of find those first few clients socially. And one of the places I think that a lot of authors find services are in Facebook groups, like in author Facebook groups. And there's a whole Facebook group if you are an author assistant and you're looking for work. And as an author, I posted in that group. It's a couple years ago, but I posted in that group, and here are my qualifications that I'm looking for. Here's this and this. And I got like 30 applications from incredibly talented author assistants, and ultimately picked someone who had never done it before. Kayla, my assistant, who's been with me for a couple of years, she had never done it before, but she said, I feel like this job description was written for me. And we connected, and so I thought, okay, I know she can do it. And sure enough, she could. So there are definitely groups, and I'll do a little research and drop some links in the next stream, but I would start looking on Facebook.
I haven't looked at a lot of Facebook groups. It might be something to actually look at myself. I don't see a lot of beta readers on like Instagram and social media. So that might be a niche that people are looking for, because people are always looking for beta readers. The editing community, they're there. I don't see a lot of networking necessarily. I think it's more of a thing that everybody's competition, so they're on their own little perch. So, my work has just basically come by word of mouth and, building things up to some kind of a bigger portfolio myself, I guess.
I think that's the way that it happens for everybody. I have the same kind of thing. My first book coaching client said, hey, would you be willing to do this? And I said, sure. And I vastly undercharged them, but I really love the work. And and they had a really great experience and a great result from that. And so then they started telling more friends, and that, for me as well. Like once you get a few clients, if you do a good job, then authors are always looking. I have like a list of cover designers whose work I like, where my next cover, I'm going to reach out to these folks. So we're always looking for editors, for proofreaders, for just put yourself out there. You'll get a couple clients and then the business will start rolling. And don't be like, it's okay when you're first starting out to sort of charge a lower price to get in the door. Don't keep that up forever, but enough to, where you're not going to starve to death, but that you're appealing enough for someone to take a chance on someone that they don't necessarily know. And then as far as beta reading, most of the people that beta read for me are just my fans who have asked, like, can I be a beta reader? Like some of them are very sort of clued in with the whole vernacular of authoring. So I hope that helps. Regina says you have a Ko-fi page. There are lots of authors there, and you can sell your services through Ko-fi as well. And yes, Lisa's right about
Very
Facebook.
good tip.
That is a good tip. I didn't know. I never think of it as like a networking site. I know that I think before the Horror Geeks channel YouTube channel was monetized, he did Ko-fi, but I always thought it was just like a tip thing. I didn't realize that there were networking opportunities.
Yeah, I didn't either. I see people listing projects, but not so much the networking thing. But I've been there in a while, so. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So I've made a little note to do a little research for you, and I'll see if I've got some good groups. But I will say, like, when I'm looking for a service like that, I will ask my author friends, or I'll go into those groups that are specifically beta readers for fiction, or proofreaders or whatever. And then you end up getting some people. I also wondered about doing Patreon or Ko-fi. Is it Ko-fi or it's Ko-fi, right? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I always figured it was coffee because they talk about buy me a coffee, but
that's right. What I thought.
That's what I thought too.
People pronounce it Ko-fi, which you can't buy people Ko-fi, I don't think.
Well, you can, but you'd have to have a special license. No, I'm kidding. I always say coffee because that's what the horror geek called it, and so
Yeah.
that's how it shows up in my brain now. I also wondered about Patreon or coffee. I have not used coffee. I will say that the folks I know who do both are on Patreon because people are more used to that, like the, whatever, $3. And the funny thing is, like, I have been supporting for that I don't even think about it. It just like comes out of my checking account forever. So yeah. Oh, there we go. Ko-fi rhymes with no fee. Okay.
All right.
All right. We learned something new today. So I hope that helps everything. If you guys have any other questions, just shoot them over to us and we will answer them on the next live stream. We are going to go. And before we go, we should do our outros. And it just occurs to me, we just got rolling today. We did not do our intros. Hi.
That's all right. Everybody knows us.
Well, mostly, but we had like a couple new people today. So I was like, oh, yeah. Okay, let's quickly do our outros before we head out the door today. I'm going to start with you, Robert, today.
Well, my name is Robert Jones, and my channel is The Story Detective, where I put various forms of storytelling under a Sherlockian microscope and break down the craft for the viewer. I also do developmental editing, and check out my channel. There's a lot of videos there. New stuff is coming, hopefully by spring. I have a list of videos planned.
Yay! Well, thank you very much, Robert. As always, fantastic advice from you. You guys definitely want to check out Robert's channel. Michelle, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
All right. I'm Michelle Schusterman. I write young adult and middle grade novels. My On Hiatus channel has a backlist of videos that are writing workshops, traditional publishing, chat, and writing vlogs.
Thank you so much, as always, for being here. And I am Lisa Daly. I am a hybrid author, both traditionally and indie published. And on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. So thanks so much for you guys for being here today. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you next week. Yay. Bye, everybody.